Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts, and today we are going to be talking about back to school, staying on track as an athlete, but also as a parent. And I will tell you, parents, I'm extremely excited about the school starting back. The Fouts family had a phenomenal summer. We have traveled all over the East Coast with lacrosse. We've been on the West Coast for baseball. We have been really hard at it as far as with the athletics this year. I think we got in one quick little vacation over the 4th of July at the lake, 2 or 3 days without sports, and we are ready to go back to school. So, what can we do as parents and what can we do as athletes and as individuals looking to go into a new season? And that's what I want to be talking about today. And I will tell you, parents, your kid's success in not only nutrition as an athlete, but also academics and the person he becomes or she. I always talk to boys because that's what I have, obviously. Is going to be dependent on your attitude, your personal goals, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. And then also the way you live your life. Over and over, I talk to parents. I'm talking to the moms, the dads, helping their athlete be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I always point right back to them. And I know a lot of those parents maybe don't like that, but I'm telling you, the discipline that your kid has most of the time, it's going to be looking at what you do. I was talking to a dad the other day, and he's like, he knows what to do, he's just not doing it. And in a subtle, nice way, I'm really good friends with this guy. He said, yes, I see what you're saying, Jeremy. I'm not doing what I need to do. So let's remember that, parents. Your kids are always watching you, and moving into this new season, are you prepared yourself? Are you helping that athlete become prepared for this new season? So let's talk about some things that we can do during this transition to move smoothly from summer into the academic year, and while they're maintaining obviously their athletic performance, because you don't want them. I've been working with so many athletes that's seen some amazing gains over the summer, and we don't want them to lose those, and we don't want school being the excuse. So let's talk about some things that's going to help them and prepare them for college. And I talk to you as like what I'm in my stage of life, and hopefully some of you guys are understanding of this. But I have a boy that's going to be a senior and a boy that's going to be a sophomore. And if you have kids that's eighth, ninth grade, seventh grade, I'm telling you, this season is going to go by really, really fast. So the more we prepare them for when they go to college, they're going to already have an understanding of following a schedule, making sure their nutrition's on point, making sure their sleep is on point, making sure their training regimen is on point. So you have this student athlete right now in a very important part of their life, which is getting them prepared for college. So let's talk about some things, how to avoid starting from scratch just because your routines are changing.
Let's go. What up?
Number one, we have to have a plan. We have to sit down with that son or daughter and say, hey, look, school's starting next week. Let's go ahead and figure out a plan that we want to follow. If your baseball team is doing lifts on this day, your football team is doing lifts on this day, that is great. We're going to go there. We're going to give it 100%. We're going to work harder than every player in the room. But also, what are some things we need to be doing on the side? Do we need to be doing some yoga to keep our mobility up? Do we need to be doing some extra throwing? Do we need to do some extra agilities? Do we need to do some extra running for we're more conditioned than what the coaches are just giving us? But talking to that athlete and getting a plan for them, having a meal plan and structure. Okay, we're going to be going to school. Do we have a microwave available? Do we not have a microwave available? How much protein do we need to eat? How much carbs do we need to eat? How much fats do we need to eat? How do we need to structure this? What time is your lunch period? What time is your lifts? What time is your football practice? What time is your baseball practice? Let's make sure we have a plan. We don't want to go to school the first day and you have a son or a daughter that has a 2 o'clock lunch, which is crazy. Some of these schools have a 2 o'clock lunch. They ate breakfast at 8 o'clock. They barely get lunch in. Then they go straight to a football practice, and they don't have enough snacks to get them through football practice. They don't have enough core beef hydrate in order to stay hydrated. So then they're not fully able to fuel their body properly. Let's go ahead and talk about this with those athletes and parents. Again, let's talk about your personal, workout plan. What's your meal plan? What's your new health goals for this next 90 days? What are you going to do to prove to these athletes that you have the discipline in order to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish? Staying consistent with training, sleep, and recovery. I talk about sleep probably as much as I talk about anything. I've got an opportunity to speak at a lot of schools, and I'm going to be doing a lot of schools this summer, mainly high schools, a few colleges, and I'm going to talk every time on three main points, and that is sleep, nutrition, and hydration. I'm going to talk to these parents and these kids the reasons why you need sleep. That's where the recovery happens. That's where your muscles grow. That's where your mind resets. And it's so important to get that sleep. And it's easy for these kids to come home after a practice, eat a late dinner, jump on TikTok, jump on games, and let 10 o'clock turn into 11 o'clock and then 12 o'clock. And the next thing you know, they're getting up at 5:30 or 6. You have got to have these athletes to have two alarms. Number one, an alarm to wake up, but also number two, an alarm that says, I've measured at 9 o'clock when this alarm goes off. I need to start the bed process. I need to get ready for bed, because if I go to bed at 9:30, then I'm going to get 9 hours of sleep. And parents, the one thing that Candace and I have done is we have modeled that with our own habits. If we're not at a football game late at night, then we are going to be starting to wind down and get ready for bed around 9:30. Call me at 10, you probably won't get me. But I'm telling you, you have to model that as a parent. You can't be watching Netflix till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night and yell at the kids and say, go to bed. You start this process of modeling it for your student athletes. Focus on goals. I've mentioned this a couple times already. But parents, I'm telling you, there is nothing better than you to set little Johnny down and little Missy down and saying, hey, in the next 90 days, Dad's training for a half marathon. The next 90 days, Dad is going to get his protein on point. He's going to cut out some carbs. Your dad is going to do this, and this is what Dad wants to accomplish in my fitness routine, in my business, in my personal life. Teach your kids about goals and structure, and you be that example. And I promise you, when you do that, little Johnny, little Missy is going to be like, Dad, how do I structure this go? I want to be starting as a running back. Now I'm third string. What are some things that I need to work on? Spend that time. At Core V, one of our missions is bringing families together through nutrition. And this last podcast that I had BK Kaminsky and his father on, one of the most proud moments in that podcast is the dad, with almost tears in his eyes, said, you know what? This has brought the family together. On Sunday afternoon, we're meal planning with each other. We're talking about our plan. We're cooking together. We're doing all these different things. And guys, I'm telling you, as parents, that's the best thing that we can do, is with our kids, talk about our own personal goals, help them with their goals, and then be the model for them on every part of life. Next is talking about to your kids about the fueling for success, especially away from home. Talk to these athletes and saying, look, I already mentioned this. I jumped ahead of myself, but the meal plan, here's what we need to do. You're going to run out of fuel if you eat an early lunch at 11 o'clock and you don't practice football till 4. Figuring out some healthy snacks, all those type of things. Balancing schoolwork and athletics without being burned out. Talk to them. Let's take care of the academics. When I'm working with athletes on plans and different things, I always send them a 10-minute voice memo when I build a plan. And I talk to them about their plan, of course. I talk to them about sleep. I talk to them about hydration, what their macros are from their protein, carbs, and fats, what the good that does. But I also talk to them about a champion's mindset. And I talk to them and I say, hey, look, here's the thing. I want you to be a champion on the field. But more importantly, I want you to be a champion at home because your mom and dad and siblings are your teammates as well. More importantly, I want you to be a champion in the classroom. I don't want you to be that little kid that sits in the back of the class and you're picking on someone and trying to be a distraction. I want you to walk in and shake the teacher's hand and say, "Thank you for the opportunity to learn today." Sit there and take notes, being a champion every day at everything you can do. If mom says the trash needs to be taken out, say, "That's awesome, mom, I'm on it." But more importantly, the next day, try to see if the trash needs to be taken out before she asks and take care of that responsibility. Understand that you're teaching these athletes about life, and it's more than just playing sports. It's about being a champion in the academics. It's about being a champion at home. It's about being a champion in your community. If you see trash that needs to be picked up, you pick it up and you don't worry about whose it is. But those little bitty things is something that's big. Getting the most also out of the early practices, talking, educating your student. We're going to not crawl out of bed, roll into a car last minute, eating our breakfast on the way. We're going to get up early. We're going to fuel our body correctly, teaching them about connecting with teachers and coaches. You don't just say, "Hey, coach." You go up to coach, respectful, look him in the eye. I've shared this story before, but I went to a really good football school in Oklahoma. And as a sophomore, I had two seniors starting ahead of me. And by the first game, I was already starting ahead of these seniors. And the coach made it public why he started me that first game, my sophomore year. He said, "I started this guy named Jeremy Fouts," and he addressed the whole team because as I'm speaking to my student athletes, as I'm talking, I'm educating, I'm telling you what you need to do. He is the only one on the team that every time I look at him, he's looking me right in the eye. But teach your student athletes these things. Teach them, when the teacher is speaking, you're respectful, you have manners. You're teaching them all these different things will help your student athlete advance not only in the classroom, but on the football field, the baseball field, but teaching them to be fine young men and young women. And I promise you, that'll be something that takes them long past what their athletic ability is. There's times where your student athlete may not be as athletic as another kid, but they're going to get another opportunity probably before the other ones if they're respectful, they work extremely hard in the gym, they fuel their body correctly, and they have a passion for the game. So teach your athletes all these important things. Simple strategies for making sure the athletes eat enough. I've already talked about that. I get ahead of myself all the time, but there is hectic schedules. Don't get caught off guard. Look at the kids' schedules, teaching them how to look ahead. Thursday night, you have a football game. You're going to come home. We need to eat this. We need to hydrate. We need to have food right after we get done with the game when you're riding the bus home. You're not starving to death. Let's get you a healthy snack. I'll have dinner ready for you when you get home. But understand all of parts of the process to help your student athlete be prepared. And then last, guys, I'll just say start strong, stay consistent, and don't let the shift in the routine pull you off track. Your performance depends on it. And parents, I am talking to me just as much as I am talking to you. I'm not going to say I didn't work out this summer, but I can tell you that Jeremy Fouts, his pants are a little bit snug this morning when I put them on, and I'm not happy with that. And I'm going to tell you, I actually wrote in my office this morning about 5 o'clock new goals for myself. And I'm going to visit with my boys this weekend about my new personal goals. I'm going to talk to them about their goals. I'm going to talk to them about their meal structure. I'm going to talk to them about their workout plan. And I'm going to try to model being a great example for these student athletes because the big picture, again, I tell every athlete that I work with, it's not just about winning on the field, it's about the person that we become during this process. And if you take a student athlete and you teach them the discipline to hit the gym hard, to make good grades, to follow a meal plan with structure, and us parents too, then I promise you the confidence that they are going to have that no matter what they put their mind to, they're going to be able to accomplish greatness. And even if they don't make it to the pros, I can promise you, you teach them how to follow a calendar, teach them how to follow a meal plan, teach them how to work out hard, teach them how to be respectful to their teachers and coaches, and they are going to have a phenomenal career at whatever they choose and be the best on and off the field, and that's what we thrive for. So thank you guys for joining the Hard Truth Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with a friend or family member. Leave us a review. I'm going to probably start reading some of the reviews. That really helps us with the algorithm big time. Is go on Spotify, leave a review. If you don't know how to, ask Google to tell you how to. We really appreciate any feedback that you can give us. Thank you, guys.
Let's go.